This video is going to go over a few of the ways that different handlebar widths will change the handling traits of your mountain bike. As always, it's an honor to hang out with you guys and chat bikes here, so thank you for checking out my channel. I'm stoked. I just got back from a weekend bike tour around Orcas Islands here in the San Juans in Washington State. My wife, my daughter, and I pedaled around the islands. We had a great time. What did you guys do last weekend? Let me know below. Whoever has the coolest story, I'll give you an internet high five. First off, I couldn't have made this video if it wasn't for the support of my sponsor, Jensen USA. And quick heads up, if you make any purchases at the below links, that'll directly help support my channel. Handlebar width. What does that even mean? How is that going to change how you feel on your bike? First, let's establish a little bit of context. So why do mountain bike handlebars come so incredibly wide? Well, back in the 1990s, we were stuck with really narrow handlebars. They were lighter, and for whatever reason, that was in at the time. Handlebars were super narrow throughout the 90s, and then around 1998, 1999, Answer came out with the ProTaper bar, which, as I remember, was a full 710 millimeters wide. Now, trends change, and the ProTapers, while they were super wide originally, they actually went down to as narrow as 630 millimeters wide before everything started to get back wider again. And things didn't really start to get wider again until maybe 2010 or so. And at that point, wide handlebars were only 710 millimeters wide. As the sport matured and as trail building improved, riders realized those one or two narrow spots on their ride that could be dealt with a little bit more technique, and the rest of the ride was way more fun and comfortable with slightly wider handlebars. Handlebars are usually sold between 780 and 800 millimeters wide, and that's super crazy wide. But that's really good news because it means we can easily cut them narrower with a couple simple tools. There's been a bit of a shift recently, and a lot of top pros have actually started riding slightly narrower handlebars. I'm not talking going way back to the 90s again with 680, 690 bars, but people are going down from 800 and 785 down to 745 and 765 and getting a little bit more reasonable with their bar widths. And there's reasons why they're doing that. Currently, I'm super lucky and I've got 4 bikes put together. Now, each one of these bikes has a different width handlebar than the others, and that's because I want them to ride in certain specific ways. Let's go over a few of the ways that different handlebar widths are gonna affect how your mountain bike feels on the trail. First up, downhill stability. So no surprise here, but wider handlebars have a big advantage in terms of stability and leverage to control the bike. When you're smashing into roots and rocks and hitting lots of big senders downhill, that's really advantageous. You need all that extra control and support for those big impacts. Every time you smash into something on the trail, it's kind of similar to doing a push-up. So you know what? Next time you're doing push-ups, take a look at where your hands are and think about that when you're sizing yourself to your bike. Super wide bars are great and all, but they have a pretty big drawback when it comes to the playful handling characteristics of modern trail bikes. As your elbows end up really bent with the wide handlebars, it makes it really difficult to lean the bike much. Really tight switchbacks and such can become kind of a chore with these big broomsticks of handlebars. One aspect of wider handlebars that often gets overlooked is simply extra control when you're pedaling out of the saddle. If you're running a dropper seat post, chances are you're gonna end up needing to sprint in or out of a corner. And in that instance, you're not gonna have that extra contact point between you and the bike of your saddle. Those extra wide handlebars are gonna help you control all those pedaling forces quite a bit more than, say, some narrow little chopsticks would. My 4 bikes, my big HD4 has the widest bars at 775 millimeters. For reference, I'm only 5'8", so that's a pretty wide set of bars. However, that bike's set up with a 170 fork in front and a Fox Float X2 shock in back. Now, that's a big bike. It's long, it's slack, and the wide bars feel great when things get steep and rowdy. The downside is that bike has lost a lot of the nimble playfulness that a 27.5 trail bike should really have. What I call my little HD4 is this bike here. It uses a 130 travel fork in front. I've limited it to 136 millimeters of rear travel, and I've cut the bars all the way down to 755 millimeters. I've been pumped on this setup. It's really fun having a bike with aggressive angles, but shorter travel, narrower bars. It's easy to get it in the air, it's easy to throw it around, it just makes for a fun setup. My Ritmo is a pretty big bike with a 160 travel fork and 29-inch wheels. After I broke my scapula down in Costa Rica, it was really hard for me to throw that thing around the same way as I could before the injury. To help with that, I actually shortened those bars all the way down to 745 millimeters. And finally, onto the Mojo 3. This might surprise you a little bit. So the Mojo 3 feels to me as the smallest bike in my quiver, but the handlebars are not necessarily the smallest nor the widest. I've got 760 bars on the Mojo 3, and that's because sometimes if you have a shorter, smaller bike, you can make it feel a bit bigger and more capable by using a slightly wider set of handlebars. As you're working out how wide your handlebars should be, keep in mind that clearance from obstacles is still a very valid thing to consider. One thing to keep in mind, handlebars do age, and you do not want handlebars to fail on you. Aluminum bars have a finite fatigue life, and I guess carbon technically do, but aluminum are more prone to snapping after quite a bit of usage than, say, carbon would be. Carbon's more susceptible to damage from rocks or anything like that. If your bars break, you're not gonna have a good time. I've only had one pair of bars break. I was lucky in that all I got was 13 stitches down the arm. Could have been a lot worse. On all four of my bikes, I'm running PNW Components range, handlebars, and stems. They're aluminum, they're 7000 series, they're plenty light, they're pretty darn forgiving. I've been totally happy with them and the price is very reasonable. I could definitely recommend them if you're looking for some new bars. I have a link in the description below over to Jensen USA, and they've got all the PNW stuff in stock. If you have further questions on what width handlebars might make the most sense for you and your bike, feel free to give Jensen a call and ask them what they recommend. Those guys definitely know their stuff. Let me know in the comments below, how wide are your handlebars, and do you think I would benefit from changing my current setup? I'll probably try some different stuff, so let me know. It's been fun chatting bikes with all of you, and I look forward to the next time we can do this. As always, if you like this video, hit that subscribe button, stay tuned. I've got a new video coming out every week.